Can you hear me? Fine?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Okay, 5 more minutes and we are going to start, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I think we're good. Let's start. Okay. Damas y caballeros, estimados participantes del ciclo de webinars organizado por la Unidad Académica Santa Cruz. Con la venia del señor coronel diplomado en Altos Estudios Nacionales Johnny Oscar Durán Lino, director de la Unidad Académica Santa Cruz, sean bienvenidos al webinar Labor Law in Bolivia. El presente webinar es organizado por el Centro de Idioma Inglés para Ingeniería de la Escuela Militar de Ingeniería Unidad Académica Santa Cruz. A continuación, daremos inicio a este webinar a cargo de la licenciada Carolina Lenis Pozo. La licenciada Carolina Lenis Pozo es licenciada en Derecho, Ciencias Políticas, Jurídicas y Sociales de la Universidad de San Francisco Javier de Chuquisaca y cuenta con una maestría en Derecho Laboral. Y viene trabajando en una empresa que se encarga de todo lo referente a los asuntos legales y de aduanas con empresas internacionales. Agradecemos a la licenciada Carolina Lenis Pozo por la enseñanza que impartirá en este tema, que estamos seguros será de beneficio para todos los interesados. A los presentes, muchas gracias por su participación. Concluyendo el webinar, podrán realizar las preguntas que deseen en el chat de la sala. Adelante, por favor, licenciada Carolina, tiene la palabra.
Oh, thank you so much. So I hope this webinar is like for use for everyone. We here in Bolivia have a very convenient labor law for the employee in this case. So in Bolivia, we look for the most convenient part of the law for the employee. I'm going to present some examples today, so I hope you find them in use. So, okay, give me a second. I will share my screen. Okay. Can you see me? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So, as Jorge said, my name is Carolina Lenis. I am a lawyer. I work in labor law for 11 years now. So we're gonna analyze the Bolivian law about labor. For example, the principles of our labor law is in dubio pro operario. It says that means that the law takes the most the part that is most protector for the worker, right? For the employee. Who's the employee? The one that works in the company, right? So, for example, if you have some law 10 years ago and you have one law now, but the employee start working at the company 10 years ago, the law is going to take the most convenient part of the law for the worker, for the employee in this case, right? So it's going to be like, for example, in Bolivia, we try to benefit the employee. So it's the most beneficial for the employee. It's funny because here in Bolivia, there is a law that David and Goliath. And it's very funny that the law takes this story for the base. For example, you know the story of David and Goliath, right? You know, David was very small and Goliath was huge. So the law tries to protect this little David because the employer has more money, has a lot of I don't know, the law thinks the owner of the company has a lot of connection. So the law tries to protect the employee, the little guy, right? So it's gonna always take the most beneficial part of the law for the employee, the worker, right? So in this case, when you are in the relationship with the company and the employee of the work or the worker, the company or the employee or the company is the one that is accused. So it's very funny here in Bolivia because in the States, when there is a lawsuit, they both have to present arguments, right? So they have to say, okay, we have this relationship, this happened, and that's why the employee got fired. In Bolivia, is the opposite. The company is the accused one, and the company is the only one that has to present proofs. So that's the case in Bolivia. So it's very funny that way. So, for example, give me a second. I will share this. Okay, the company is the accused one then. The law in Bolivia. Okay, we have, I will translate this. Okay, Artículo 66 is the Article 66 in Bolivia. Okay. For example, in Bolivia, the worker or the employee is the one that starts the trials. The worker or the employee is the one that accuses the company of going against the law. For example, in the States, you have to, either of them could start the trial, but in this case, just the worker or the employee can start the trial in Bolivia. You cannot start a labor process in Bolivia if you're not a worker. So when the employee accuses a company, then the company is the one that has to present the evidence. So the company has to say, okay, this was the relationship I have with the employee, and this is what happened. So in Bolivia, there is the only place where the company is the only one that has to present the proof. If you check the cases in Brazil, Argentina, you have the cases in Europe, both sides have to present evidence. But in Bolivia, the worker is the only one that has to present the evidence. So I think, if you ask me, it's very unfair for the company because you are the one that has to present the contracts, the evidence, you have to present pictures, video, and demonstrate the worker or the employee was not fulfilling the contract, right? So here in Bolivia, that's the particularity that we have, right? Just the company or the employer has to present the evidence. Okay, so here in Bolivia, we have the protection of work continuity. What does it mean? That we try to protect the continuity of the worker in the company. The law doesn't care if you're not doing a good job or a bad job. The thing is, when you have a relationship between the worker and the company, the law says you have to protect the work of the worker, of the employee. So it's very difficult here in Bolivia to fire people, right? It's very complicated because when you're trying to fire someone, you have to demonstrate, and the company in this case is not just saying you're doing a bad job. The thing is, you have to demonstrate the employee is doing a bad job, and that gets very complicated, right? So do you have any doubts until here? So we can go on. Does someone have any doubts, that have any questions? I don't know.
Now let's continue.
Okay, let's continue. So in this case, this is very dangerous, right? Because when you have an American company, the law in the USA or in Europe is that all parties have to present the evidence. The case in Bolivia, and that's why a lot of companies don't want to invest in Bolivia, is because you have to present the evidence. And we have the Ministry of Work here in Bolivia. So what happens? I will explain to you what happens when you fire someone first, and then I will explain the process of the labor process, right? So when you fire someone, you have to go first to the Ministry of Work. What does it mean? You have to go there and present there and explain to the employee there, why did you fire your employee, right? What happened? He missed work, he was drunk in work, or he was not fulfilling the contract. You have to present there, and also there you have to present the evidence. You can present videos, you can present a note, you can present, like in Bolivia we call memorandums, right? You have it also in the USA. It's called memo, right? When you send a written note to the worker and said you're not doing a good job, so you have to improve. So when you send that, you have to present all of the memos you have, right? You can have 1, 10, 11, and that's where the lawyer of the Ministry of Work decides and if it's good enough evidence or not. And if he decides it's not good enough evidence, you can go to a trial, right? And that's why I think the law is not very good in Bolivia, because the thing is, you cannot fire people right now. It's very complicated to fire someone. So you need to present a lot of evidence that maybe sometimes you don't have, because in Bolivia it's forbidden to have cameras in the workplace. For example, if you have a factory, you cannot put cameras pointing to the workers. You have to put them in the entry. You can put them in the lounge room, but you can't really put in the workplace, the companies. So it's very difficult for the companies to demonstrate that the worker is not doing a good job, right? So that's why a lot of companies decide not to invest in Bolivia. I think we in Bolivia need to improve the law, like be fair for everyone, right? If the employee has to present the evidence, also the company has to present the evidence, also the employee should do it, right? So here in Bolivia, we have cases that the employee like invented the case, said I work in this company, but it was not true. The employee did not work in that company. But the thing is, they can start an accusation based only on their words. So they can say, I work in that company, and that company says, I have never seen you in my life, but still they can start the trial. So you as a company have to demonstrate that people never work in the company, right? So it's very difficult to demonstrate here in Bolivia that they didn't work. So what do the companies do? They try to prolong the case, make it as long as possible so the worker gets tired and abandon the case. I have cases that have lasted 10 years and we haven't resolved them because the worker didn't the worker didn't present a demand that was good enough. So we have been like putting observations, but it's not fair for the companies. So that's why in 2015, CAINCO presented a proyecto de ley that's called in Bolivia. That's a project you present to change the law. So we presented that for the law to be fair. So both sides have to present evidence. The employee and the company have to present evidence, like in the trial, so they can demonstrate if that person was working, or if that person was working and doing a good job, because that is the end of hiring someone. You hire someone for them to do a good job, right? And if they don't do a good job, doesn't make sense, right? But that's a problem we have in Bolivia. Or lately, we have in the US, you have the what is called the risk analysis. So they make an analysis, and not only if they think we are gonna make a good money here in this country, they also think, I am able to fire people. Am I able to fire people or to hire people for a year or 2 years? And here in Bolivia, no. You have some contracts that you can do, but the thing is, the law always protects the worker or the employee, even if he's not a good worker, even if he misses the work, even if he goes drunk to work. So it's very complicated here in Bolivia. So, okay, we're gonna go. We have what is called the termination of employment, okay? Here in Bolivia, you must pay the worker 3 salaries when you want to fire them. You know what? When the worker steals from the company, you can demonstrate he stole from the company, but it's easier to fire the employee and pay 3 salaries. That is a lot because when you hire the people, you need to pay them 1 salary. So for each year they work in the company, and when you fire them, you need to pay them 3 salaries. So it's very complicated for the companies to hire people with responsibility, right? Because when you hire someone, you have to prevent and you have to think that you're gonna have to pay 1 salary per year, and also if you want to fire them after 89 days, there is in Bolivia what is called the proof, the proof, the trial, okay, the trial of the employee. So the employee stays at the company for 89 days. If you pass the 89 days, that employee is in the company forever. And if you want to fire that worker or employee, you need to pay them 3 salaries, which is very complicated because companies don't prevent and don't have the money lately with the pandemic and all the problems all the problems that we are dealing with. Companies don't have 3 salaries to pay to the worker or employee. So that's why we've been working with CAINCO and with GH, that is a company that I run, to try to approve that proyecto de ley, right? So both parties can present the evidence in a trial. So it's not just the worker that can say, okay, I work there and you have to pay my benefits. No, the company also can start the trial so they can say, okay, this worker was not fulfilling the role he was hired for, so I'm going to fire them. So that's why that's very interesting subject we're trying to get approved, right? But we're fighting in this because sadly in Bolivia, like people doesn't hear the real companies, right? Because 75% of the companies in Bolivia are in Santa Cruz de la Sierra. But the sad thing is that they try this kind of subjects in La Paz. So it's not very good because how can you try this kind of subjects if you're not talking with the real companies, with the real owners of the companies, with in the real place where the investment in Bolivia happens? So that's why it's very complicated, right? So all CAINCO is asking for in this case is that the government lets both parties present the evidence in the case of the labor trial. So it's easy to continue the labor, the continuity of the labor if both parties are okay with it, right? So that's why this is very important because we're presenting CAINCO presented like a project. So it's gonna get approved or not on the 30th of April. So we're trying to really get it approved and see that the law becomes fair for both parties, right? And we have been fighting for this for 10 years. So it's very important of the 30th of April that we get the new law and we can make the companies safe because it's very hard to invest in Bolivia and even harder if you cannot fire people and you have to pay 3 salaries. That is a lot. So that's why that's what I wanted to present to you. Like the problematic that we live here in Bolivia. And that's why we don't have a lot of companies. You have companies like Avon that left Bolivia. I used to work with Avon. That's why, because our law changes every day. Every day you have a new Decreto Supremo. What's a Decreto Supremo? Decreto Supremo is a kind of law, but that is approved. It could be like for the government, and you have to change the law. Then you have to, for example, you have the doble aguinaldo in Bolivia, right? Doble aguinaldo is supposed to be paid when the PIB rises, but some years didn't. So still the companies have to pay. So that's the thing. We're trying with CAINCO, we're working, it's a 10-year work, so we're trying to stop that. So make the law fair. That's all the companies are asking for. Make the law fair, so both parties have an opportunity to demonstrate that if that case is fair or not. Do you have any questions until here? Do you have any commentaries? I don't know. Someone?
I think we're good.
Okay, nice. So that's it. There is a very controversial subject right there, because it's very complicated for the people to demonstrate, for the companies actually to demonstrate, because imagine you have a company in the US, you can fire people tomorrow. If someone is not fulfilling the job he was hired for, you can fire them tomorrow. But here in Bolivia, you have to present evidence almost for 60 days. You have to go to the Ministry of Work, you have to go to a trial, and then you can fire someone. So it's very complicated, right? And companies think, the companies that are gonna invest in Bolivia, they think it's not fair. So that's why we have so many little companies coming from the US. And it's very hard for Bolivians to attract companies to come to Bolivia, because the first thing they ask for is the law. How is the law? Explain us, how is the law? How can we make this company? And here in Bolivia also we have, like in the US, you pay the 7%. That's the city that pays more, 7%, the state in this case, 7%. In Bolivia, we pay the 16% of taxes. And also at the end of the year, we pay the 25%. So it's very high. That's why we're fighting, right? Because we think we don't need, foreign companies, but all the countries have foreign companies that invest in the country. So it's very hard for Bolivia. You know, the other day someone was asking me, why doesn't H&M come to Bolivia? Because they try to come to Bolivia, but the thing is the law is not fair. It's not fair with companies. It benefits only the worker. So the companies don't care to come to Bolivia, because it's not lucrative enough, right? If you don't get enough cash or enough, it's not attractive to you, you're not gonna come to a country. So we have unemployment, and it's a very high rate of unemployment lately. And people complain, but they don't think that they should change the law to make Bolivia attractive for the companies, right? Because right now it's not very attractive. So that's a very controversial subject, right? Because sometimes we think, okay, we have to make the law more beneficial for the worker, but what about the companies? What about the companies that are gonna invest and gonna risk here things in Bolivia, right? So that's why I think that's a thing we need to debate, and we need to see that it's really beneficial for us to have a law that is just beneficial for the worker or the employee. And we should really think that if that is really helping us, because there is a lot of people out of work and they are not getting anywhere, right? So if we have companies from the US or Europe that want to really invest in Bolivia and create works, we should change the law. Because I have like 1,000 meetings like in the last 10 years, and companies don't want to come to Bolivia. Companies don't want to come because the first thing that happens when a company wants to come to Bolivia, they ask, how is the law in Bolivia? How can I do this? How can I do that? And it's very problematic, the law in Bolivia. So we need to change that. So that's a very controversial subject. I think we need to think about that as Bolivians. We have to be responsible, because it doesn't matter that the law is more beneficial for the worker or the employee if we don't have jobs, right? So if we don't have jobs, we don't have companies, it doesn't matter. If the law is more beneficial for the employee, it's equal, because we don't have jobs. So people that are out of jobs because of this. So yeah, we're trying to change this with CAINCO. And I think a lot of people think, no, but it's okay, that is more beneficial for the worker. But I think, if you ask my opinion, really isn't. So I've been fighting against this law for 10 years. So we have presented a lot of documents proving that companies don't want to invest in Bolivia. So we're trying to change this. So I hope I gave you something to think about. I've been working in this for years. I have been reading the law. I have been working with companies. You know, I met with companies like Avon, H&M. I met with, for example, for Forever 21 to come to Bolivia. It was like we worked 3 years for them to understand our law because it's very complicated. So I think we should change that, because if there are no jobs, it doesn't matter if the law is more beneficial for the employee. It doesn't matter. So that's it. I hope I gave you something to think about. Oh, I thank you for being here. And I don't know if you have any questions. I'm up for it.
Okay, people, if you have any questions about the subject, you can ask. Wilson, do you have a question? Or why are you raising your hand?
I don't know.
I guess he's just saying hello.
Hi, Wilson.
You have to, your microphone is off. You have to turn it on. Wilson, your microphone is off. You have to turn it on.
Yes, it's on, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was just saying hi.
Okay. Okay, my friends. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, let's see. Okay, Wilson, can you write it on the chat?
Wilson is writing. He has a question, teacher.
Okay.
Please.
Nice. Thank you. Yes, I will wait for it.
Okay, Wilson, you can write your question, please. Maybe his microphone.
He says he didn't get the point. I don't understand.
Yes, he's writing a message.
When you explain about
he's asking very slowly the benefit.
The benefits.
I think he means what are the benefits to
every single worker has. Oh my God. A ver, when you explained about the benefits every single worker has.
Okay, I think he means that why should we make the laws more or as equally beneficial for the companies and the workers, I think, right?
I think we should do it.
In Bolivia, yeah, I know we are very protective, or we protect more the workers than the companies, right? Yeah, that is we have always done that, right? What would be the benefits of making the laws softer, let's say?
Investment. In this case, we're trying to look for investment, because you see people like selling things out of the street, right? They sell like, I don't know, donuts, they sell like tostado, they sell like, and they don't really have benefits.
Okay, so, now can you hear me? Yes, I think I I fixed my problem here.
Nice.
Yes, yes, I was listening to your performance, and I didn't get the point when you explained, for example, about the benefits that we have. When we finish, for example, a year, what kind of benefits do we have if we work during a year?
When you work a year, for example, in a company, you get 1 year salary. For example, when you fulfill 1 year of work, you get also one salary more. You get your 12 salaries for the year, like January, February, March, and you also get your aguinaldo, that is a 13th salary, and you also get a year of benefit. That's called in Bolivia indemnización por antigüedad, right? You get paid that. So in Bolivia, we pay for a year 14 salaries. Your salaries from January to December, your aguinaldo, and also you get your indemnización por antigüedad. That is 14 salaries you get each year. Okay. So you decide if you want to charge your company that year at the end of the year, or you are going to save that year. But the thing is a lot, because companies in the US or in Europe don't pay that kind of money. So they have problems when they want to invest in Bolivia, and you tell them, no, you have to pay 14 salaries. And if you want to fire someone that is not fulfilling the charge he was hired for, they have to pay 17 salaries. That's why it's a lot. So the only thing CAINCO is asking for, to make the law equal for everyone. So each party has to present evidence in a trial. For example, if I say, I work for you, Wilson, I work for you 10 years, I start the trial to you, you have to present the evidence. You have never met me, but still you have to present the evidence to demonstrate I never worked for you. That's why the law is unfair. That's why we should change that, because what beneficial is for us, what's the benefit for the worker if there are no companies? So what's the benefit for the law to be, I don't know, better for the employee if we don't have companies? So that's very complicated in Bolivia.
Yes, I agree with you, but what do you suggest? Maybe we have to change, what kind of things maybe we can change?
I think we need to change just for the trial to be fair, right? Both parties have to present evidence. If I'm gonna sue you, I have to present evidence I work for you. So if I don't have enough evidence I work for you, I cannot sue you. That's the only thing CAINCO is working for, right? For the law to be fair.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Wilson.
Yes, I was asking that because we have some problems. In my last institution, we had some problems like that. They wanted to ask for the... Yes? Call me,
Wilson, if you have problems, I will help you.
Every person has a payment, has a fare, has a toll, maybe?
Yeah, call me. I will give you my number in the chat.
That's enough, because, for example, in some institutions, they don't usually pay the aguinaldo and those kind of things. That was the point. Yes, we have to go over the investment that the companies are going to invest here in Bolivia. If we want to grow up, we have to invest in good companies so we can have good workers, and the company is going to grow up as well.
Yes, of course. It has to be fair for everyone, right? Not just for the company and the employee, just fair for everyone.
You're right. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Wilson.
Congratulations with your exposition. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm very passionate about labor law.
Okay, my friends. Does anybody have any other comments or questions? Colonel Martinez, I see you're raising your hand. Do you have a question, or it was by
You're just
accident?
saying hi.
No, thank you, teacher.
No. ¿Quién es pues entonces? JM. No, it was Wilson. Yeah, right. Okay, good. If nobody else has any questions or comments, agradecemos a la licenciada Lenis por compartir sus conocimientos en este importante tema. A continuación, para finalizar este webinar, damos paso al señor coronel Daen Jorge Martínez Padilla, director del Centro de Inglés de la Escuela Militar de Ingeniería Santa Cruz, para el agradecimiento y conclusión final. Adelante, coronel.
Okay, thank you, George. First of all, I want to say thank you to Carolina Lenis for her presentation, for her participation in this webinar. I'm sure this issue is very useful for all students this night, but I hope the next webinars we share this information with more students. Ok, teacher, muchas gracias por la presentación, también para todos los asistentes. Esperemos que las próximas también tengamos asistencia y podamos también compartir los conocimientos de nuestros docentes en este caso y puedan hacerlo en inglés para que también tengan un doble conocimiento, uno del tema mismo que usted está hablando y otro también de poder practicar y poder escuchar este tipo de presentaciones que son muy útiles en inglés. Muchas gracias nuevamente, teacher. Muchas gracias, Jorge, y a todos los participantes también. También les insto a que puedan hacer preguntas, láncense, puedan emplear todo lo que están aprendiendo también en la escuela de inglés.
So thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. So until next time.
Okay, people, thank you for your attention, and that would be all for today. Thanks for watching and see you later. Thank you, Carolina.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Cornell.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye to
Cornell.
all the
Bye,
teachers.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.